Hello and welcome. Today is day 13 of our journey to write our custom game engine and editor. And what we'll do today is continue working on our GameObject tree. So the main objective is to get this working in a good way. And I already saw the first issue that we can and hopefully will fix. And I will show you what that is. So if we go on to GameObject and we could say add cube, this works, but now we have the problem that the related drop-down menu actually doesn't close. So there's something wrong with that. And I think what should still basically work, but which also needs improvement, is the right-click mechanism, which is the actual feature that I want to implement, but we need to make sure first. I would suggest that come on, oh no, something's really broken now. Let's try this again. Somehow I messed up. So what I actually want to do is I want to see that the right click should actually work, but I think the problem was always that I needed the cube. Yeah, okay. So it's very, very basically working. And I also remember I had to implement a kind of a hack to not close this this drop-down menu on click to actually enable us to have the right-click context menu here, but there is still some other issues. And if you also look like we seem to have a major leak, because if you look at this the time, the frame time, it is constantly rising, and we are already at 68 or 70, 72 milliseconds now. So something is completely off. So that's a nice spot to dig into, because there seems to be a huge problem here. And so we will see what is now going on here. And yeah, let's see how we go about this. Okay. I would actually suggest the first thing that we do is to check what is causing this leak or this creation of objects or something, because it seems like there's an abundance of objects created or something like that. It's looking totally weird, and I will quickly recheck, because I think it was only after doing this right click. It was not when just using the menu, I believe. Oh no, okay, look, if I'm hovering over the menu, okay, yeah, it's okay, that's already enough. Okay, good. So let's probably check that. So we go into the check input menu function. Check menu inputs, not like that. Okay. Check the menu inputs. We are checking the menu inputs here. No, that was already right. We are actually doing what? Okay, and I think the problem was that we don't clear it. I mean, let's just try to quickly instantiate that back in. And now we can see if that helped already. So yeah, it's stable. Okay, yeah, it's stable. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I know. I mean, of course, if we don't clear it, I mean, we just add indefinitely, and we iterate over the drop-downs active list, or technically it's a std vector. Okay, so that makes sense. So now the question is, if you don't do that, I remember there was a problem with not being able to do the right click. So now if I add a cube, that's fine, but now something wasn't working with the right click. And I remember it had something to do with us not being able to actually check all the check all the items in the menu, right, for the mouse hovering. Okay, but at least this problem was easy to solve and it was easy to spot. Okay, we can also add more objects, as you might remember from the last day, but still we cannot at all do any right click action here. Okay, so let's think this through. So if we have this if we have this game object tree, the question is why can't we just scan the mouse for that? What is the problem here? So if we say check game object tree inputs, which is a nice function that we already have, but what is the actual issue here? Oh, we don't care for the expand icon, that's fine. If we did not expand an icon, we will check for selecting of the actual tree items. I think that's also now fine. And the actual hover state is here. So we are actually, I think we are actually coming here, right? Let's see if we go here, because here we would check if there's a right click and we are hovering over an item in the game object tree. I think that should be correct. At least it shouldn't be totally wrong. Let's put it that way. If it's not correct, it's probably also not totally wrong, but yeah, we'll see. Okay. We're adding a cube, we're hovering, and we're having the right click. So far that's fine. So actually the issue is a little bit different than I thought. So the issue is not that we do not essentially check the hovering, but the issue is that we then probably do not render it correctly, because what we do now is that we drop it to the active drop downs. Yes, I know, and I think I see now. Maybe we need to just have a separate list of drop downs specifically for the game object tree. I think that just makes sense. I think this whole global drop down list then does not make any sense now, because I think we're just always tripping our own feet essentially, because if we have only that one shared list, it doesn't really make sense, right? I think so. I really think so now. Yeah, because the thing is now that it would theoretically even be rendered, but this is also cleared every frame, and I think the clearing should only be done by the involved modules, so to say. So we only clear our drop downs for the game object here, and that's fine, because here we also check them. So we should never essentially separate the clearing for a specific area of drop downs from the rendering and checking. I mean, the rendering is actually fine, but the checking we should not do. Yeah, I think that's kind of the general solution here, actually. So what you do is drop downs game objects active. So now we have this much nicer. We have a much nicer separation here now. I will create this here, and it is a std vector of drop down items, drop down item pointers, and I will still put it somewhere close here. So these are now specific, and maybe we will also rename these ones here, and these are the drop downs that belong to the top menu and are active. And I think now this is much better. Yeah. And now when we render the drop down overlays, the nice thing is I think we can still have a central place where we render all the drop down overlays. I think that's not a problem because they all need to be somewhat on top of everything else, so that makes sense. But now they are separate, so they can live their own life, so to say. Yeah, that makes sense. So I mean, I'm just wondering if we can just probably still collect all the different sources of drop-down items. We call them the frame drop-down items into one list. And what I'm doing now might be a little bit stupid probably, but I need to look this up. I just don't want to Google this now, but I think maybe there is an option to just directly initialize a list with the contents of another list. I mean, I know this is possible in languages like Java or something, and also I think Python, etc. But I'm not sure if this is actually possible. Yeah, so we can actually kind of copy it in anyway. Easily add in. The question is, can I easily add in a second list as well, or do I need to do it with iterating over every item and copying it one by one, which is stupid but still works. And I think it's currently doesn't matter that much probably. Yeah, I mean, that's the question. Okay, so that's what we can do. Let's try it out. I think it could work. Okay, I just found something quickly that could work. Let's see if that really works, or if it just pretends to work. Just looks like it works but doesn't. Because now we might say, because there is of course an insert function, and it says where, which is exactly what you want, because you want to have it at the end, and we have the drop downs active. No, drop downs active, drop down top menu active, drop downs top menu active. Yeah, I mean that's it. So then we say frame insert at frame drop down end, and which should be then dynamically drop downs active, GameObjects active. So that should be working. Okay, dokie. Because now we can probably go to frame drop down items, and I will just see where. Yeah, no, I mean it should. I think it should work. And that would be a nice non-duplication of any code or something. Let's just see if the top-down menu item still works. Let us see. Yeah, I mean, it's, yeah, basically still working. And okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's, and I think the cube is the cube the only one? Yeah, I think so. That's fine. I mean, the location is totally off, but we don't care for now. That's fine. For now, it's fine. And we will just make the clearing of that just every time when we enter this, because I guess it would also now, of course, be added indefinitely otherwise. So let's see. Yeah, I mean, still, yeah, I guess we will not see anything now, because it will immediately be not drawn again, right? Because of the clearing. So we need to have another step in between where we say we open it once, and it's locked actually. I think this is actually where we lock it. And if it's locked, we draw it, and otherwise we do not. Add a cube and a sphere, and I think the cube has it. Yep. And as you can see, I can easily raise my frame time, because every time I click now, or I'm not even clicking, okay, it's added all the time. Every time I'm hovering, okay, wow. Oh, because the mouse right click is never cleared. So we need to say consume. This is another problem. Mouse left click consume, but we need the mouse right click consumed. Mouse right click consumed is true. Or probably. So where is the mouse left click consumed? Oh, where is that? So let's just do that. We can quickly make this very similar to the left click, but just with the right click. Still, we will have a separate code, separate pieces of code. Win consume right click. I think that does make sense. And we will just do it for the R buttons up and so on. And there is also this frame function where I think it's already actually done. R button equals, yeah, it's at the process messages. Okay, win consume right click, we need this as an external function. Easy cheesy. And now the final thing is we need to add this to our engine header. Otherwise, no way this would work. Could not be found by the compiler otherwise. Okay. So now let's say mouse right click consume. Let's say if that already does the trick. So, what do we have here? We add a cube, we add a sphere, we add a capsule, just to have a little bit of things. And so it's stable if I'm not here, and it's also stable now. So I need to right click. I need to right click. And then it lagged a little bit behind, but now it's stable with 5 milliseconds. Not mistaken. Wow, okay, it's already. Oh wow, and now it's completely running away. Okay. Wow, okay. Then it stays. Okay, it's even going down again. Doesn't really make sense. I mean, maybe that is even some, I don't know. I don't know what that is. Okay, weird. Maybe it has something to do with OBS. I don't know. That was weird. I mean, let's start once more. Let's see if that happens again. So we can. I think we can even make it a little bit bigger. Yeah, so. Let's see. Okay, so we add a cube. I think we need the cube, and the cube has. So nothing's happening here. That's fine. We have 1. So now we have 1.1 milliseconds, 1100 microseconds. So now we drink some water here. That's the next thing we do. That's the actual next thing we do. That's the actual next thing. And now, I mean, it's stable, but now if I'm here, nothing happens. If I'm here, nothing happens. But if I add 1 more, it's also still fine. Okay, I mean, okay, wow, look at that. Now it's, okay, now I think each time when I'm fresh, yeah, now it's running away. Okay, is it? Yeah, yeah, to 6, to 7, to 9, to 7. Okay, I mean, it's kind of stable. Okay, it's going down again. Funny enough. It's going up and down, crazy. Okay, I think I will not probably hunt down this effect now, because I think it's basically, it seems to work. So the consummation of the right click works basically, and that's now it's good enough. The drop down menu locking, let's say if let's look for locked equals true, where we do that, because I would say this is actually what we want, right? And okay, so we used it because we wanted to. Where did we do that? We did that when we clicked on a menu item. Okay, so far so good. Where is it actually checked? Locked equals. I'm just wondering where do we check this? Oh no, I want it to be here. Where is this actually read out? Where's an if? Yeah, that's what I want. Okay. So these are all assignments, and here we do a read. Okay. So we say, is the mouse hovering? A connect drop-down menu, and we are in the check menu inputs. Oh yes, I know. Okay. Yeah, so that means if we are, if this menu item has a drop-down menu and it is not and it's not locked. Locked means kind of to not render it, or do not do any further checks. Essentially, that's what it actually means. Yeah, that's what it means. Then do the check if you have not locked it. Okay. Well, that's a little bit of a different use case. So my current issue is that when I'm doing essentially the right thing, if I say check GameObject tree inputs, and I do actually clean out, I do actually clear out the active menus, I of course cannot display them, right? So the question is not, do we still keep this pattern where we just clear out everything at the beginning of each frame and then we check fresh? But I think that's actually probably not what we want, because what we actually want is kind of a state where we say, well, is there one drop down open in this GameObject tree? Then we do not want to clear it, right? So let's still not do that. And let's probably first, because that makes it easier to debug, so let's first fix actually the location, okay? Let's fix the location and let's then check. Let's then check if it makes a difference. What it does is it makes it easier for us to debug, because then we have the different menu items at different spots, and they are not just overlapping it at the same spot. So what we need to do is, when I think this is happening at the render GameObjects recursive, yeah, I think here is where we set the actual dimensions, right? So the problem is now that we have this tree bounding box top. Where does this come from? Ah, yeah, okay, no, it's okay. The tree bounding box does not make sense. What we actually want is, yeah, I see. That doesn't really make. We need to have. I know it. Yeah. Why would that be actually? Let's probably just go in there. Let's see. Yeah, let's see how that would work, because somehow the location seems wrong, and also the top location is already wrong, because it's really at the top of the overall GameObject tree, as we saw. So if you add a cube, yeah, so the cube has a drop down menu, that's why we jump here. That's how we fall down into this trapdoor, but that's exactly what you want, so that's fine. So the top is now 32, which is what I expected, because it is on the top. But why has this GameObject? Okay, yeah, because the tree bounding box is wrong at the first instance, but it's fine. But is it never corrected? Because it should be at the second time around. This is a little bit stupid, but okay, it's funny enough that this tree bounding box is never correct, it seems. Almost never. Okay, so something is wrong, something is totally wrong with the tree bounding box of the respective GameObject, because the GameObject is actually not wrong, I believe. It should be the cube. Yeah, its name is cube, that's fine. So the question is why? So where is this bounding box coming from? Yeah, it's a rendering bounding box. So where is this set? Where is this actually set? Where do we set this? On first sight, I would see we do not set it at all. Oh no, here we do. Okay, here we do. Yeah, here we do. Here we go. Here we do. So I guess this is actually just some lines. Oh, could that? Okay. Is that too late? Because that's afterward here. I am wondering if this is the case. If this has children, okay, we render an expansion icon. Okay, no, but I mean, still, it doesn't really make sense. Because latest, when we go around, it should actually work. I mean, it doesn't really make sense, right? So the invocation counter has a yellow underline, which is normally not a good sign. So, excuse me. I had a small inconvenience in my nose. Whatever, some kind of allergy or whatever. C++ allergy. Yeah, I mean, it's probably even crazy, but so even if this is wrong here, I mean, the next time we go around, it should still work. It should still work. Okay, let's see when we come here. Okay, so this GameObject tree bounding box. So the name is enemy1, which is not the right one because it doesn't have one. Enemy1 drone, we do not care, but for the cube we care. But for the cube we care. Oh, I see. I totally see what's going on here. I think I totally see what's going on, because as our cube doesn't have any children, we never go here with the cube, right? Yeah. The only objects that have children are enemy1 and probably what is called enemy2 or the enemy1 drone. Yeah, but not the cubes. But still, this is the only place where we make this kind of calculation. Which is very likely not what we want. So we will now move it right here and see if that changes anything right away. So yeah, I hope you get what we're doing, but now we have just moved this code out of this kind of dead place for certain kinds of objects, because it was really never reached for our game object, which was the only one that actually had a drop down, which is a cube, but it was never there. So I mean, it's still crap, still does not work at all, and I mean, there's nothing happening anyway. And now we have several of them. Okay, it is wrong, but in a different, I mean, it's wrong in the same way, but let's just check that out here, and let's just just look at that when we have the cube object coming around. So we need the geo, the game object. So we have the hero. We're not interested in the hero. We're not interested in enemy 1, drone, no. Enemy 2, no. Hero, no. Enemy 1, no. Enemy 1, drone, no. Which makes sense because currently we do not have any actual object. So now let's wait for the cube. So here comes the hero. Enemy 1, enemy 1 drone, enemy 2. Here is the cube. Here we go. So what does the Go tree bounding box look like? This is the question. This is not a question. Yeah, and it's actually okay. Yeah. Okay, now let's go over here, and now we should fall into this if. Yeah, we do. And we now have a Go drop down menu. The right is that, and the top is now, is it now 152 or 184? Yeah, because it's the top plus 32. It's maybe even too much, but it's, in any case, it should not be. It should not be like right on the top of the game object tree. It should at least be 184 pixels down, so quite significantly actually. Okay, so now there is a drop down height. Doesn't really matter, the drop down height. Okay, it's 0, so it's 100, but that's fine. Okay, yeah, because we don't have any texts to measure upon. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And yeah, the rest doesn't really matter. So what we would need to check next is render drop-down overlays, and we need to see if actually we have something here. So do we have frame drop-down items? No, not yet, because that makes sense. But that makes sense because we did not activate the drop-down yet. So let's just wait here. I mean, that's already interesting, and that's already wrong because they were just hovering. Okay, but maybe did I hit the game objects? Maybe these are, yeah, okay. I was just a little bit, yeah, it's not what I want. Come on, let's get over here. Yeah, try it again. Now being very, very careful. And now we say right click here, and here we go. I mean, that's nice, that's expected now, and we also expect that these have 0 entries here. Yeah, they have 0. And okay, I see you do not see those overlays, so I will check it here. So the editor state has a lot of variables, but we are interested specifically in our two lists of active drop-downs, and we have one that is the game object active, which has a size of 1, which I think again you cannot see now, but I want to show it to you. Or maybe I could still leave it here, but we just moved that up, I guess. Can we? Oh yeah, no, you should see it. So we have 1 in the game objects active, and we do not have anyone anywhere else. I mean, that is a correct state. That in itself is okay. That is nice. That's fine. So the bounding box is now what? Yeah, left is 4, top is 184, and right is 100. I mean, that doesn't look bad. Doesn't look bad at all. Why is it rendered in a complete stupid way? I am not sure why I am changing the camera here. Is that an overkill? I mean, for every drop-down item. Yeah, I don't fully remember. I guess I had a reason when I did that some days ago. Don't remember now. Let's just keep it anyway. It shouldn't matter. The important thing is that we have this specific frame buffer drop-down overlay panel. Oh, I think maybe I know what could be the problem now. Because the drop-down actually lives in its own little frame buffer bubble. So the drop-down itself always goes from 0, 0 in its own little universe. That's fine. That's fine. That's okay. And the width and the height is actually 104 and 100, I guess. So 84. Why is that now? Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's, yeah. Okay, whatever. Doesn't really matter now. Okay, yeah, it's the bounding box top and the bottom is, yeah, okay, whatever. That's not so important now. This is not so important now. Okay, that's fine. We prepare the camera. Okay, yeah, check. We resize the frame buffer, check. I mean, that should be okay. Because I think the dimensions are okay. We disable blending, also good. We get the blue tinted texture, also okay. And then we have our scale matrix, which I think is still okay. So we give it a drop down width and a drop down height. And we also draw it at half the drop down width and half the drop down height. So it's fine. It's kind of filling out the whole thing anyway. So far so good. I think the actual issue arises when we do the blitting, and the blitting I think is wrong. Blit the frame buffer to screen. Ah, yeah, and that's a problem. Yeah, of course. I already see it. We just had hard-coded, or I had hard-coded the bounding box at 32, and that's just wrong. That's just wrong, and I think that's already the solution. We just need to recompile and restart. Then we should be good. Oh yeah, do not want to jump into the debugger now. Add a cube, probably add a sphere, add a capsule. I just want to have some objects between the first cube. Yeah, it's the first cube. Okay, yeah. And that's the second cube. Okay, it is working, but they never go away because we don't clear them, right? Okay. So some minutes left. Let's see how far we get. Let's see how far we can get here. So I would declare that if we open a drop-down menu item in the GameObject tree, it's a little bit different than when we open it in the top menu, because the top menu is essentially opened as a side effect of hovering over the top menu item, which is kind of a little bit more fragile even. What we want instead here for the GameObject dropdown, or for any, let's say, tree view, whatever, or table view where we have a right click bound to a context menu, this is then different. I think this should be longer lived, and we should probably have kind of like a toggle switch or a flag or something where we say, well, kind of a keep alive signal, toggle, flag, whatever it is. Whatever it is. So what we can do is probably I think what we could actually do is be a little bit cheeky and do the following. If we go into check GameObjects tree inputs, and we don't do the clearing every time here, but we just clear it when we have a new one. Then we add when we push one, so that means we at any time we only have one, right? Am I right? That's a question. I think I am actually. Might just be right. I might as well 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 be right. So let's do the basic thing first. We add a cube, we add a sphere, we add a capsule, we add a camera, we even add a directional light, so we have a lot of space in between, and another sphere, another capsule, and then the cube. So this one is here. Now we have this one, and it's here. Yeah, I mean, I would also like to have the functionality if we are in the if we click outside of this drop down, I would like to have it also disappear, but that's probably for another time. I think that's more complicated. What I will do now though is I want to have the offset on the left side better flush with the actual menu. So let's go back to the render function, but probably I need to do this in the render yeah, render GameObjects recursive, because we need to do it here. Sorry. So the right, where is the left? I'm actually interested in the left. Minus the margin. Yeah, I'm not super happy with the margin here. I think we don't even need the margin here. It doesn't really make sense. Instead, I will put it 16 pixels to the right. Let's just do a quick test, and I think I will also move it down a little bit anyway. Let's probably do this with 48 if we can. Yeah, okay. Don't think that it took this. I don't think it actually worked. Getting better, but I think it did not take that, and we will try once more. We will try once more. So where are we? Where are we? Adding a cube, adding a sphere, but that's good enough. Left click here. Capsule, camera, sphere, camera, directional light, capsule, sphere, camera, cube. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, it's fine. I think it's fine. Yeah, I think think it's fine. So we will continue next time with rendering actual menu items in here, and then I think I will also be able to manage the further closing, because now that is still not working, but at least we can coexist with two different drop downs, and that's already kind of revolutionary, isn't it? Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. I hope you agree. Yeah, I'm just kidding. I know it's not very spectacular, but it's another small step to having a functional editor, right? Okay, and you can only do so much in a few minutes. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope to see you next time, and see you soon. Have a good day.